How does it look like on your right? Because I saw it's that's short. What it does is it shows in that you don't have to do
Well, I actually think international is
this is doing the right way. Especially once you get to tomorrow. It's a big challenge to throw something together with
so it's actually it is that just here.
All right, we are going to start in 1 minute. So let's make sure we are coming to a good stopping point. Close our laptops and let's focus on this class. All right. Morning.
Saw the same lady. And she straight up
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. Last Saturday I was told there was no place to sit. If people heard I'm teaching and nobody like showed up, half of the people didn't show up. All right. Looks like there's plenty of space. All right. I know a couple of people are streaming, so we'll begin the class. All right. So before we start, again, today's class is. Like last Saturday, you guys saw some pretty complex topics, and today's is going to be the same. We saw Bootstrap. We are going to actually see the foundation of Bootstrap, what Bootstrap is based on, and what are the rules and regulations that go with Bootstrap. It's really, really, really important. So please focus. I would again highly recommend. My class already knows this drill. I know I started Monday also. So I prefer please close your laptops and just focus. This is being recorded. Everything is there. PowerPoint I have already posted. You guys can go back and see, right? But for now, we need to look at the concepts. All right. Before we begin, anybody feeling like this? Yeah. I'd be surprised if you weren't. All right. So I know people are stressed about the homework and all that stuff. It's going to happen. You just need to, a little bit calm down, take a deep breath, and, if you want, take a break, not like a long break. Take a break, come back, like 15 minutes. I'm just kidding. But, take a break, come back, and look at the code again. I was telling my class, if you are stuck in any issue for like 2 hours, please seek help, right? It's not just for students. It's even for me, right? Even when you're working in an environment, it's the same thing. If you're stuck in an issue for 2 hours, you need to seek help. I mean, get somebody else. Hey, second pair of eyes, can you look at my code? I'm kind of stuck over here. And I've seen this. People have come to me in the class also, and they're like, oh, yeah, it was just like a one-line change, and it started working. You just need a second pair of eyes. Probably can get it done much faster. Okay? All right. I want to say this, but maybe I should bring this up at the end of the class and see how you guys are feeling about it. It is tough, and I see again. I was mentioning my class. You guys are definitely more chattier. I see the Slack conversations, the questions. I thought previous cohort they were definitely like a silent crowd. So I was kind of shocked that so many people are talking on Slack and communicating. You guys just need to get in the habit of using threads, but that's a different. It's just my OCD-ness that kicks in whenever I see that. But again, please keep up. Again, I was telling my class, please keep it up. But I would highly recommend just space it out. I've seen students who like come in like, all right, this is it. First week, good. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and they kind of slowly disappear. Don't burn out. We have a lot of stuff to do. Next week you will see we are going to march forward. We are going to look at some totally new, different language. That's even more crazier than the first two we are looking at. It doesn't get any better. Then we are going to look at Node.js. That's even more crazier. So just kind of pace it out. Don't put all your energy in HTML and CSS. Next week JavaScript. Then we'll look at jQuery. We look at some APIs, Ajax calls, Node.js. So you kind of pace it out. All right. So let's see what we are going to do today. We looked at Bootstrap. Bootstrap is good. You guys saw it, how easy it is to use, but it doesn't come as easy as it looks like. There's a whole set of rules. Remember, we saw some examples. We were creating some buttons in Jumbotron. The buttons were kind of at the starting of the web point. They were like in the corner. They were not like well placed, right? So Bootstrap comes with all those. You can place them well. You can make it look really nice, but it comes with a set of rules. It does have a learning curve, but once you get it, it is really, really easy. Okay, you will be like, I don't know how I was doing this without it. All right. It is a really good system. It just initially when I started, when I was learning also, it kind of it was difficult for me as well. I was like, I just don't get it. But you just need to focus, try to understand what is going on. But once you get it, it will show you how the web pages are done. Okay. The crux of that is something called media queries. This is not relatively new, but in CSS3 that's what you are learning. They have introduced this, and these help with the mobile responsive. All right, you have heard mobile first websites. So you design for mobile, and then you design your website for desktop. All right, because today in this era, everybody, if your website doesn't open in mobile phone, nobody is going to bother again checking it. All right, so Bootstrap comes with that mindset. We just need to understand how it does it and use the capabilities that Bootstrap provide to us. Okay, the meta tag you guys have seen in the HTML. I'll briefly go over it towards the end of the class. And then in the end, one of the TAs is going to introduce the homework 2, which is due next Monday/Tuesday, depending on your class. If you're Monday, Wednesday student, then it's on Monday. Tuesday, Thursday is on Tuesday. They can talk more. Okay. All right. I already talked about the focus, so let me go ahead and quickly go over what we saw beginning of the week. We saw HTML, we saw CSS. You guys are working on this homework. Some of you have completed, some of you are still working on, or you are doing the easier one. It doesn't matter. But CSS, we saw it's kind of crazy, right? It's really, you guys saw the float and right and left. It's always a pain. People are asking me, and I'm like, oh my god, it's difficult, right? But what we saw is that there are third-party libraries, right? There are some other libraries that have done CSS for us. You can use those third-party CSS in our HTML without getting crazy, all right? And we can generate this page, right? We saw this page. This is right from the Bootstrap site. Just copy this components, and we can come up with this page. Okay. The important part from that was linking. All right, you need to link your external CSS. We started with the reset CSS. It was external CSS. We linked it to our website. Then we saw Bootstrap. Bootstrap is also basically, if you see, it's .css. It's eventually just a CSS file. You are linking it to your project and then using the CSS classes that are in the CSS file. Okay. Some of the more popular classes, we saw Jumbotron, we saw buttons, they have tables, images, all kind of stuff. Okay, I hope people went back and look at the documentation. There's like a lot of stuff that comes with Bootstrap. So let me do this warm-up activity really quick. You guys focus on this. Just look how it just I'm going to show you just linking part of the Bootstrap just as a recap. All right. So let me go ahead and create a folder real quick. Bootstrap. I'm going to call it warm-up. Okay. Create index.html. and I don't need a CSS file, right? I'm not going to write any custom. I'm going to use Bootstrap. All right, keep this. The first thing I need is a Bootstrap link. Okay, so I'm going to Google Bootstrap CDN. Okay, so what CDN stands for is Content Delivery Network. You will see this a lot. CDN, Content Delivery Network. What this means is it's just a fancy term of a host or a server or a centralized location where something is located, where your content is located. That's all it means. All right. If you search for any CDN, what they do is this is a centralized location where they have hosted the CSS file. I'm just going to copy this and use it. That's what CDN means. If you're looking for any other JavaScript library or HTML, let me. If you Google something CDN, you will directly come to the link. Oh, I think I said okay Google because my phone showed up saying what do you want? What do you want to do? All right, so I'm going to link my CSS file. I'm going to copy. Okay, to copy. Okay. All right, so I have my CDN. Let's go to the Bootstrap. Let's just go to the site, pick up some components. Saw the Jumbotron. Let's just pick up Jumbotron. This is the code. So let me go ahead, paste this. I'm going to format so it looks nice. Okay. Let's go ahead and open this.
So you just copied that.
I just copied it. I just literally went to the website and copied this Jumbotron. So let's suppose I'm making a site and I'm looking for a Jumbotron. This is what I want on my website. So I go to Bootstrap. I'm using Bootstrap, and Bootstrap has the exact code that you can generate. So this is the code. If you quickly take a look at it, it's nothing different that you guys already worked on. If I take these classes part out, it's just a div tag, h1 tag, p tag, hr, and a link. All right, that's what basic it is. But what is making it nice is all these classes. Okay, and they have a lot of options. So what I do is I write these classes in my code. So again, if you are become more proficient at Bootstrap, if you're not even copy pasting, you know, a lot of time I've seen people who use Bootstrap a lot, they remember these classes. Oh, I know what a button primary does. So they would just, you know, type the whole thing out and put a button primary over there. I remember a couple of classes, and you will see in my examples later on that I'm just using like a success or like a warning color. Those are like green and orange. I want to show some differentiations. I'm going to be using those. So those are kind of classes. But the basic thing is these classes are what is making this. Yes, Geoff.
So, for example, like if you just wanted to try on the portfolio that you made, if you started borrowing those classes, the only difference would be since they already are customized a certain way, they might not fit your elements correctly. So if you start, you know, changing your H1 into something,
right,
it'll change the look, but it might just be
that's a possible cause. And why it is because you are using two things now, using Bootstrap and your style. So now when you're using more than once, then you need to balance out and see what is overwriting the next one. Remember, the order matters. So the classes that you are using, the attributes that you're trying to style, Bootstrap is also doing it. So that is a possible cause. You might get lucky and nothing will happen, but there's a chance that will happen because you might be overwriting something, or Bootstrap is overwriting.
I mean, this is the whole site. You can. But now I see what you mean, like you can
right.
Your whole site because they have everything.
Right. And I understand, but you see, we got here. If I introduce you Bootstrap from the beginning, you have no idea what class means. You have no idea what is going on here. So everything we built on is necessary. We'll see some more next week. Few weeks after, we'll be like, well, you should have just told me this. Yeah, I should have. You are saying this because you understand that part, right? If I told you that before, you'd be like lost, right? Yes, Matt.
I've seen that term hero unit in some samples.
What is it?
Places. Hero unit.
Where's the
This is
hero?
a symbol, hero unit. What does that mean?
What am I missing?
Part of the content. The first part of
It says P
class,
class, P class lead.
This is a simple hero unit. Line 17. Right below.
Line number 17. That's it, guys. Just tell me the line number. This is a simple
17.
hero unit.
17.
Yeah.
17.
So I can look up it. I'm not sure what hero unit means, but looks like, you remember I was telling you there's a pixel, there's a unit called MEM, REM. It's probably one of those are called hero unit. I'm not exactly sure. We can look at it and I can find out. But looks like they're saying that the units that is being used behind are like one of the, probably not a pixel, but a different unit that they're using. Okay? Yes.
Quick question. So we're using Bootstrap to link to the Bootstrap site.
Mhm.
So what happens if Bootstrap goes down? You're going to have a lot of broken websites.
Right. So that was a question. I mean, there's a possibility of AWS or Amazon Web Services can down. So yeah, if it goes down, then your whole website kind of goes down. But they kind of assured, they say that it's up by like 99.6% or something. And from the statistics, looks like 20% of the website out there use Bootstrap. So their availability is very, very high. There is a chance, of course, there's always a 0.1 or 1% chance. But even if it goes down, it's just not your website. There are like 20% websites that are going to be affected, and they will try to bring it up as quickly as.
Amazon doesn't like to look back.
It's the same problem when you use Amazon Web Services. It's a cloud provider, right? It goes down, Netflix went down, it happens. Reddit went down. Google, you're using Google. Google goes down, it happens. So that's always a possibility. Yeah, your site won't be able to render. We'll just so we can test it out right now. That if I just comment this link out, this is how it's going to look like, right? So I commented this link out. All right. So this kind of simulates that let's suppose Bootstrap went down, so it won't be able to render this CSS. This is what eventually it's going to look like. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So I just showed you one example, but kind of translate. You have your buttons. Remember, you can use buttons, and they have drop downs, cards. We'll be using some of them. Maybe card. I'll show you the card one, but it's the same thing. You will see me, and you guys also should get in the habit. Try to get a overview. You guys kind of now got it. Okay, this is basically divs, H1Ps, and I'm using some classes. Okay, that's the concept you need to know. Everything else, you can just copy paste and modify it. Okay, so the card text. Okay, I don't want the card title, so you can just remove the card title. It will show up a card without the card title. You kind of play with it and see what you're looking for. Okay, again, Bootstrap is not the only library in town. There are a few more. Again, I can't remember the name, but if you Google CSS libraries like Bootstrap, you will see a few more. Okay, I've have students who have used some other libraries as part of project also. All right, they come with more features, all right, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and there's a possibility some people wrote a CSS. You guys write a CSS, you host it on your GitHub, and everybody else can use it. That's also a possibility, right? It's just CSS that anybody else is using. You're like, oh, this is the standard of this class. We are going to do everything like this. Create a CSS and everybody uses it. Same concept. All right. All right. So we saw, you guys see the reasons for Bootstrap. It kind of significantly saves you time, provides you with some built-in features. So you can concentrate on your content and concentrate on your design and your use case, whatever business or whatever your use case is, you can concentrate on that. All right, kind of saves the trouble. And people who are who are not as strong in CSS, it kind of gives you a leg up, right? You're like, okay, you know, I get it. Now I can use this and I can start working on different things. Okay. The second reason is mobile responsive. We'll see. You guys are working on your assignment. It kind of go way off when you try to change the size of your viewport, which I mean your browser, or you try to render it in a different, in a phone or a tablet, right? Bootstrap kind of comes built in with this thing, with taking care of the resizing part. Okay, your site will render on your desktop, and then when you render the same website on your phones, on your tablets, or any other screen size, it's going to appropriately change few things. All right, it's going to make it look nicer, more mobile friendly, more mobile responsive. All right, and that is the crux, that is the foundation, and that's why Bootstrap became so famous, because they were providing this functionality built in. Right. Towards the end of the class, we will see if you want to do it on your own. I'll show you that also. It's good to know again behind the scenes how Bootstrap is doing, what are the code that is going behind it, because guys, at the end of the day, it's just a CSS which is written on top of the original or the vanilla CSS. Okay, if they are able to achieve this, you guys can also do it using the pure CSS code. All right, it will take you more time, more learning, more trial and error, something that people or teams at Twitter have already done that. All right, but it's good to know. So at the end, I will tell you how it is done in CSS, so that you guys are familiar. Okay, what is going behind the scenes. All right, and again, not every company uses Bootstrap. Right, you might work at a company where they're like, oh no, we have our own thing, we have our own Bootstrap, and we do it everything. So you need to know how to make it responsive, right? So that can also happen. All right, so I already did the Bootstrap part. We did some Jumbotron and all that stuff. All right, any questions on that? Everybody kind of familiar with the components, how to navigate to Bootstrap, copy paste, kind of try it out. All right, keep trying it. Bootstrap. In this class, next week, few more weeks, you will see a lot of code that is built on Bootstrap. All right, but I will not be able to go over that component after today, right? Because I'm going to be focusing on the new topics. All right, so my expectation after today would be that you guys are pretty familiar with HTML basic, and you guys know GitHub, you guys are familiar with that. Bootstrap, you kind of, if you see the code, you can recognize this is Bootstrap and this is the Bootstrap HTML. Okay, because after today, next week, following week, we're going to be looking at JavaScript, jQuery, and all that stuff, and that will be the focus of those classes. Okay, all right. So if you are not, please go back and look at the Bootstrap site again, and then make sure that you are comfortable with that. Okay? All right. All right. So I'm not going to go over I already said my thing that, please focus. This is the crux of Bootstrap. All right. Now, before we see the Bootstrap behind the scenes, what happens when you're creating websites is, especially if you're a UI UX designer or you have somebody on the team, what they do is their thinking mode is when they're trying to build a website or they're trying to give copy to a developer saying, hey, this is the website that we are looking for, right? They start with something called wireframes, right? Okay, you will hear this wireframe term a lot in UI UX design, especially in web development, because you cannot go without wireframes when you are making a website. Okay, what wireframes is more like a concept, and there are a few more softwares now around it. I'll talk about it, but wireframe basically means is it's a bare bone architecture of your website, how your website is going to look like. Right? Without any images, without any content, for example, like this. So I want from this screen, looks like I want a website that should have a logo over here. There should be a navigation bar. And this is where my banner is going to go. All right. Then I'm going to have some content over here. I don't know what, but I know I have something in my mind. It's not important at this point, right? Might be pictures, might be paragraphs, might be something. All right. I know it, but at this point, it's not important. I just know I'm going to show something over here. Okay. And then at the bottom, I will have a footer. All right. What I just did was I just wireframed my website. And that's what it is. That's what wireframing is. Now, wireframing can be done on simple paper, pencil, pen, or there are softwares that more companies where they have UI, UX designer, they use proper softwares. All right. There's a slide over there. I'll tell you guys what those softwares are if you guys are interested. But this is basically what wireframe means. Okay. Before building any website, even if you have it in mind, right? You guys are working on a homework. You see that image, right? There's a PNG which tells you, hey, this is what you need to do for your homework, right? There's a portfolio page or whatever, everything. That's kind of wireframe too. All right. It is just an image that is given to you, and you guys are going to look at it and build the website looking like that. That's also kind of wireframe. Okay, seems like that's more like an evolved wireframe because you have images and everything. But in the true sense, wireframe is going to be something like this. It won't have colors, images, or anything. It will just have what we call placeholders. Right? These are just placeholders. Now, wireframes come with a grid system in mind. All right, whenever you are doing a wireframe, you need to think of a grid, right? Now, what is a grid? Rows, grid is rows and columns, and that's how every website is built, and that's how that is what the thought process is. Really, really important. Wireframe, okay, the concept. And then you make your website using the grid system in mind. Grid is just basically rows and columns. Okay. What it means is that I'm going to divide my website in rows and columns. I'm going to expand on that. If you look at the Facebook, now with your, put on your wireframe hat, HTML, CSS, all right? If I look at it and keep this grid system in mind, do you see the grid? There's a pattern going on, all right? They have like row. This seems like a big row. All right. Then you have this column. They have put everything in a column. All right. Seems like this could be a big row with columns inside it. Or different ways. It's just how you look at it. But eventually, what it is it's a grid system. All right. All your websites are divided into rows and columns. This one is a little bit more complex, but still there's a grid system behind it. All right. You guys can see it on the top. Remember, there's a banner or something like an ad. I could see this as a row. All right. This could be a row with small components inside it. All right. This could be columns. All right. So everything, and then you see the pattern that from the ends, everything is in a straight grid, right? This is important. We'll see what it is. All right. Everything. There's no grid like this. All right. If this is my web page, right? You won't see this, right? So everything is in a straight and then in a grid format. CNN, if you look at CNN, or you look at any website, again, grid system. I have a row over here. This could be one row. You see these columns over here? These are like 3 columns. Okay, and this is what wireframe comes in, and this is what the UI UX designers and most of the time you guys also, when you guys are doing your websites, you kind of sketch it out. All right. Best way is use a whiteboard or a paper and pencil and kind of sketch it out what you're going to do, right? I'm going to show you how Bootstrap does it, and from now on, you guys will have to work in a grid system, and when you make your website, you will have to sketch it out and kind of think that if you're using Bootstrap, how do I use the Bootstrap grid and place my content inside it? Okay. Now these are some of the tools that you see on the screen. Again, I am more familiar with the third one, this one. Yeah, I haven't really used those, but if you talk to any UI UX designer, the first one, the Balsamic, that's really popular. I've heard about that. Have you used it? Okay.
Because you can just cut and paste pictures. I mean, you could build the site the way you want it.
Right.
Literally throw it at it. Make
Right.
it look like this.
Right, and that's what the UX people do. They throw everything and say, I'm like, well, your tools allows it, but I don't know if it's possible using the code if I can get to it.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, this is what we want. Yeah. Yes, Reggie.
So using the grid system, is there a way to figure out like the web size or pixel size that you want to use?
Right.
A lot of times.
Again, yes. Good question. Keep that question. We are going to get more technical, and I'm going to show you how it works. For now, it's just the concept. It seems like now you have visualized how the grid system is working. So we are going to transition into the code part. Now I'll show you how the widths and heights and all that stuff work. Okay? All right. So let's do this. I'm going to show you a few sample websites, and we are going to try and break it down into rows and columns because that's more important, and then we'll get to the coding part and we'll see how to code this out. Okay. So this is how your wireframe is going to look like. All right. Let's suppose it doesn't match one-to-one, but I'm trying to give you a concept that if you're trying to build this website, you will come up with a wireframe saying, oh, on the top, I'm going to have a banner. All right. Then I'm going to have maybe an advertisement place, like a carousel. There will be like images, some content, some more content, and at the end, I'm going to have a footer. Right. That's the wireframe. Okay. Now, how do I divide this into rows and columns? Right. Again, now think about it. So the first one looks to be a row. I can put this in a row. Second one in a row. These all are together. I can put them in a row. All right. And keep going. So I have like total of like 6 rows. Okay. Here's the thing. The top one. The question would be, well, I have my footer in my row, but I don't have my navigation bar as a row. All right. Generally speaking, we kind of skip the navigation bar from our grid system because the reason is more usability and seeing it, because navigation bar, if you see, always kind of sticks to the top and always remains over here. All right. You never want to change your navigation bar. Right. It's always going to be here. Your content could be in this box, right, or in a bigger box. But your navigation is always starts from the beginning, takes up the whole width of your page, right? So you can put your navigation bar in your grid system, but what is going to happen is when you do your mobile responsive website and your whole grid system kind of aligns nicely, your navigation bar is also going to start acting up. You don't want that. You want your navigation bar to stay nice on the top. So again, you can put it. There's no issue with that, but generally speaking, you will see that people skip navigation bar from the grid system. They kind of, because it stays on the top end. Some people skip the footer also. Again, that's a choice. But I'm going to include the footer over here. But again, that's also a choice. You can totally skip the footer and keep it at the bottom. That will also work. Okay. All right. But the middle part is always important. That's where the grid system comes. Okay. Now, everybody clear on the rows? Everybody see there are like 6 rows, 7 if you want to include the top bar. Okay. Now what about grid system? I said consists of rows and columns, and it has to be there. It cannot just be rows. Okay. Columns is a little bit more tricky. You have to visualize it. Initially, it's kind of difficult to visualize, but when you think about it, you will see the columns. So each row, we have 6 rows. Each row is now kind of independent. Think of row I don't want to say think of row as a grid, but row is now kind of independent. These are now independent. Now forget about these. We're going to focus on the first one, right? Now my content has to be in columns, right? Row is too broad. It's good right now, I get it, but it's still too broad. My content, my everything, I cannot put everything in a row and be like, oh, here's my grid system. I have to further divide it. So I have to divide it into columns, right? Now columns are vertical, right? So my first row, how many columns does it have? It just have one column. You guys see it? One column? All right. My second row, why does it have one column? Because all my content, I want it to be one big H1 or a div or whatever. All right. Now the third one, that's trickier. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 8 columns. Okay. Again, it's a choice. You could say, well, I want to just put everything in one column and get done with it. Give it a try. But the better way is to make sure that your individual things kind of come into your individual columns. Yes?
Are you not counting the negative space as their own columns?
What do you mean negative spaces?
On the pink, like versus 8?
Yeah. Yeah, those are also from the again, this is a bit jumping ahead. So why am I not counting these? Because I have defined a grid system that is going to reside in this kind of space. I'm intentionally leaving these space. I built my website. You saw the Facebook, they have like a lot of white spaces. You will see a lot of websites having white spaces at the end, and that's what I'm considering. And the white spaces come with the bootstrap grid system. I'll show you what it means, right? But right now I'm just focused on this part. Yeah. Okay. But you're right. This is actually a column too, right? It's just a column that I'm ignoring, right? But you're right. This part is also a column. So right now, by that count, I have like 10 columns over here. If you count this and this. Good question. I'll show you that these two are also columns. Okay. Other than that, if my content, there are 8 columns. The next one, 4. Okay. The last one has 2, and the first one, second last one has 2, and the last one has 1 column. All right. Any questions on this? You guys getting the concept?
Is it always rows then columns?
It is always rows and columns. And we'll get more technical, and I'll show you some of the rules. It's grid, rows, and columns. I'll get to that. Okay. Let's take a look at this one. So how many rows do you guys see? What was that? Okay. Yeah, no, it's the same one. I'm just making sure you guys still see the same number of rows. That was a trick question. Okay. All right. Let's. Since you guys want a new one, let's look at the new one. Okay. This is what I want to build. Okay. I'm going to divide this into rows and columns. Now, how many rows do we see? Let's suppose I'm going to skip the navigation. How many? 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, excellent. So I have 4 rows. What about columns? Let's see. How many columns does the first row has?
Are we counting the pictures as separate columns?
You tell me. You are the ones who are going to design it. Do you want it separate? Do you want one? That's the exact question. Let's go back. Remember, I had like different pictures, and I divided into columns. Keeping that in mind. So 2. Yeah. Yep. So that was the question. You're asking me the same question that I was asking you guys. But yeah. Again, that's the question was that are we counting the picture? Are we not counting the picture? Again, that's a choice that you guys have to make. The more right way would be make it a column. All right, put it in a separate put everything in separate columns. Again, can I put everything in one column? Yes, you can. All right. Will it render the way I want? Probably not. Yeah. So you have to test it out and see if that's working out or not. But if you do this way, there's a higher chance that it is going to render what you're looking for. Okay. So second and third row are the same thing. All right, they both have two columns, and the last one is 1. Let's look at this one. This is not the same. It looks the same. It's not the same as the previous one. Okay, so how many rows do I have?
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? You guys are saying this is 1 row, this is 1 row, this, and this. Okay. Again, I could totally merge these two together too. I can kind of say these both are same row. Again, choice. Right? You can make it separate; it will still work. But why would I say that these both are same? If you look at it, you are saying, okay, this is separate row, this is separate row. How many columns are both going to have? 1 columns, right? So you have 2 rows, both have 1 column. Kind of goes similar. I can combine both of them and make 1 row with 1 column, because if any change happened to my screen, I want both of these to be on the same line, right? So again, it's a choice. You can make it separate, but that's just extra code. The lazy programmer in me would just make it 1 and be like, because the action and what I'm looking for would serve the same purpose. When this website comes smaller, I want both of these to be in line coming together, right? If I keep it separate, then I have to make sure that both of these are doing it right versus, combine them into it, right? Again, it's all based on how you see it and what the choice is. Columns, first, second, and third are easy, 1 columns. The third one, again, you can separate them out into different 3 columns. Okay. If you want to go super crazy, you can divide this into 1 row and then have 1 and 2 rows and then 1 column. But that's like going like super deep, and right. I mean, this will also work. We'll see one example where you would have to do, but in this case, it will still work. Yes, George.
Yes, it's a quick question. So let's say you like change like the content or like the font for the section, then it's gonna like, change for everything in the column, correct? So let's talk about like the third row, the greatest ones that ever made. So let's say like you that one. So let's say like you just make like a change for it. It's but they're in different rows. It's going to change like the top one, but not the bottom one.
Yeah, it won't change the bottom one if they are in different rows.
So it'd be like the same correlation.
What was that?
If it's all in the same row, it has the same correlation.
Yes, it has the same correlation. Yes. Yes.
Was it for responsive purposes that you split the photo and the text that are laid out horizontally? You split it into 2 columns before? That you're
Yes.
combining bits for responsive.
Right. It is basically, that's the correct focus. That's the correct assumption. It eventually boils down. I want to make it responsive. I want to, when I open this website on my mobile phone, I want this to look nicer. And there are different ways. How would it look nicer? I'm jumping ahead. But what would happen is, I'm going to shrink this. Perfect. This thing cannot shrink on your phone. What are you going to do? Stack it. Yes, exactly. Well, you guys already are ahead of it. So I'm going to stack it, and that's the exact same reason. That's why I have divided in columns. It's easier to tell me that, hey, stack these columns. How many columns are there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's look at the final one. This is kind of a little bit tricky. All right. What was that?
Subcolumns.
Subcolumns. Excellent. So how many rows? Let's start with the rows first.
Like there's 1,
3,
1,
4.
2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4-ish. Okay. Let's see if I. Okay. So rows are kind of easier now. Okay, you guys are right. 4 rows. You saw the click to photo to view. It's kind of easier to put it over here, or you can move this over the depends, because I want to make sure that these 2 align, right? That's why we move the click to photo view with the text at the bottom. Okay. What about columns now? First row is easy, 1 column. Second, how many columns does the second one have?
3.
1, 2, 2 or 3. Again, going back to the previous slide, it's a choice.
2 would be the subgroup.
What was that?
2 if you use a subgrid,
Uh,
right? You were using kind of like a sub. If that's one row,
right.
and then it'll be subbed on the right side into kind of
Right.
3.
So one
nested
row,
grid.
and then how many columns?
1.
Some say 1, 2, or it could be 1, 2, and 3. It's a choice again. Yes.
So going back to if the screen squishes, right? If I'm looking at this right, if you have 1 or 2 columns here, say half of those go and stack underneath.
Exactly.
Now, the click photo to view, that's going to stack underneath the other text.
Right.
So it won't be relevant to the content that's above it anymore.
Right.
So I don't know.
So what I could do is, the observation is, first if you divide this into 2 columns, and when they're stacking, what's going to happen? This is going to stack first, then this is going to stack first, right? So what you can do is you can do 2 columns and stack them, and you can even move that on the top.
I would almost put the text with it.
Right.
Just so it moves with, like that.
Right.
So,
Again, that's why you see why wireframe is important, so that before you start coding, before you even start putting pictures on your website, you guys exactly know what is going to happen. Okay, what issues we can run into it. And this is the exact same conversation that I was looking for, that you guys see it, you guys already saw the issue, what's going to happen, change it accordingly, and then start coding. It's actually worse if you start coding the whole site and then you realize, oh, you know what, this is not going to work. It's kind of tedious to go back and change the columns and all that stuff. Right now, this is a column. I can further divide this. Right, I mean this is one column. I get it, but still, if I look at this as a grid, there's still a little bit more complicated. I want to break it down into chunks. Right, what I can do is the grid system. Right, now let's forget everything. I would think that this is one grid. So we need rows first, right? I can divide this into further rows. I can have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. You see that? Okay. And then it's easier. Then I can have columns inside it. Right? So you started with a big one, right? You start with always it's grid, rows, and columns. All right? You break it down into small chunks of components, and then see if they can be further broken down. All right? And with this thing, it's much easier when you are, again, mobile responsive, because stacking will work. Then maybe you want the images to kind of become smaller or something, so it's kind of easier to apply the mobile responsive in this whole grid, and everything will work nicely. But this is again choice. It comes down to what is the best decision you can come to, and what would be easier to code. Can you convert this easily into code versus having a big row and trying to figure out what is going on? Okay, now I can just concentrate on this part, kind of code this out, right? Then concentrate on this part, code this out, then come to this one, and this one eventually to the bigger part. Okay. Well, this kind of makes me see the UI UX designer. They do have an important job. They have to like all this. Yes.
So
Right.
when you're speaking in terms of rows and grids,
Yes.
when you're doing your divs, so you have to include the rows in the divs as a class or ID or something?
All right, good question. Keep that question. Right now, I will show you, I will write this whole thing out. I will show you the coding part. We'll come to how this is done in Bootstrap. Right now, it's just the concept-wise. Right, I'll show you. Don't worry about it. After this few slides, I'm going to actually code this out and show you how this kind of translates into code. First, we need to understand the concept, right? We got the concept, and then we need to translate it into code, of course, right? So I'll show you how to translate that into code. You will see how that works. Yes, Jill.
So you're able to split the rows into things like the 3 rows over here, then the big rows here.
Yes.
You're able to split that out to get just like kind of its own column without having like all the way across.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. And how this works is, because I'm going to isolate, I'm going to say a row, and then I'm going to have call, call, call. I'm going to end my row, and then I'm going to begin a new row. Right? Then I'm going to have call, call, and I can have a row within this call. And then I'm going to finish this row here, and then my call over here. Okay, so these are in between. Yeah, this is how your code is kind of going to look like. So these pieces are isolated because these pieces don't know about this one, right? In your HTML, you see how they are in sections. They go inside it. They are kind of children, and these are the parents. So these have a relationship. These are kind of siblings if they're on the same row, right? So that's how you can isolate them. Yes, Chris.
When people are like doing their work together, this is how they would divide them by rows and columns to assigning something to do. Is breaking it apart.
Not in rows and columns. Yeah, it could be, but it could be that I'm going to. Usually, what happens is if it's not as a complex project, right? If it's a simple one, one or two people can like pair programs sit together and kind of do it. But if you have like just one HTML file that everybody is trying to work on, it's preferable that one person kind of takes it. Like everybody decides what the wireframe is, and you kind of give that part to one or at least two people. That's it, and they kind of collaborate and sit together and kind of come up with this system. Yeah, but we'll see towards the end of the course when we come to React and all this. So they have kind of made it more easier. Everything is in a separate file and component, so this allows multiple programmers to work on it. For now, usually like one person or maybe two.
So in other words, usually they would do like a whole page, and it might have the same format. So they'd be given different pages, but it
different pages. Yes, exactly. Okay. Different pages, and I mean by different pages, different HTML files.
Yes.
You do this HTML file. I'm going to do the about. Somebody else is going to do a content.
And they all look similar.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good question, Austin. Anything else? Okay. All right. Any questions before we move on? Good. Everybody getting the concept? Yeah, you guys made it. That is the crux of making website. Now, guys, it's all about code. I know it's trickier how to translate this into code, but if you understand the concept, looking at the code would be much easier. You will be able to imagine, okay, what am I doing over here? All right. Again, the core part is. I'm not saying it's easy. It is. It has its own things, but it's easier to visualize and see what's going on. Okay. All right. Since we are looking at Bootstrap, we are going to look at how Bootstrap provides us with their grid system. All right. As I was saying, all websites follow a grid system. So Bootstrap has been kind enough to give us the grid system that they started using in Twitter. It's from Twitter, so whatever the grid system there was, they have shared it with us. Okay, couple of things. Okay, I'll go to it when the questions come. But the grid system comes with some rules. Okay, I'm going to show you those rules. Can you break those rules? Yes, you can. Is your website going to look like Bootstrap is promising? Absolutely not. Okay, so there's a system. You follow it, it will work. And if you don't follow it, why would it complain? Right? HTML, CSS, they are like rendering on your browser. They don't care if you make a syntax issue. They don't care. They will silently die, and they will like break your page, but they will never complain. Right? That's kind of bad part of it. What was that? Yeah. Yeah. So if you are, I'm going to show you the rules and how you use it. And if you follow those, the output would be kind of similar to the expectation. But again, you can break those rules. You can try different things, but they might not come out as they're expected. Okay. Let's see what I have next. Okay. All right, everybody good? So here's now we are going into, from the concept wise, we are going to kind of go into the coding part. Okay, so how does Bootstrap grid works? All right. Let me see. This is a better slide. Okay, this is how, from the coding perspective, Bootstrap grid work. On the top, we saw a grid. This is called a container. Okay. Rows and lowercase call. Dot. What does the dot mean over here? If I say dot row, what does that tell you?
class.
That's CSS class. Okay. Caution: none of these are HTML elements. All right. All of these are CSS classes. Container, row, columns, all are CSS classes. Okay. So basically, what you're going to do is these classes go in an HTML tag, right? There's no other way it can exist. So there will be an HTML tag, and you will be putting class row in it. Okay, to begin with. All right, before we get into it, again, one more time, this is how the Bootstrap grid system is divided. You start with a container, that is your conceptual why, that is your grid. Then you start with your rows. Okay, you build your rows, and within your rows, your columns exist. Can I keep these columns outside the rows? I don't want a row. Yes, you can try those things, but it's not going to work as it is. Okay, this is the grid system, and the rules are that you have to have a container, you have to have a row, and within the rows, you have to divide your website into columns. Okay, all right. Let's see. The basic starting rules. I said containers. So you begin your code with a container. Then you have rows. First two are simple. You have a container, then you put a row. Columns. There are 12 columns available to you in Bootstrap Grid. Okay, every website that you make using Bootstrap, you have container. Within container, you have a row, and then you have 12 columns available. Okay, every row must add up to 12 columns. Can I have less number of columns? Yes, you can. Same answer. Will it look like what I'm expecting? It will not. Well, you can put 12. If I do 13, 14, 15, you can. It's not going to look as you want, right? But the basic rules are 12 columns within one row. Okay? Yes.
So you're saying you can have more than
I can have more than?
rows, so you can do smaller.
I can have more than 12 rows?
Okay.
No. Is that the question?
Can
Yes.
you have more than 12 rows?
Yeah. Rows doesn't have a number.
Okay.
Right? So how does it look like? So I have, this is my container. I have rows. I can have as many rows as I want. But I can have, to me, 12 are available. Column number 1 and 12. Okay? Now I can choose to ignore some columns. That's okay. All right? But the columns that I am kind of ignoring, they will be filled up with like white spaces, right? But you still have to mention those columns. By skipping, when you look at the code, it's not like I don't mention this column at all. I have to mention that column. I still have to mention that column, but I don't put anything inside it, right? How do I not put anything inside it? If I just do div / div, what does it do? It doesn't, it's just there, it doesn't put anything. And that's what the column is. So my column would be empty divs. Okay?
So it just adds white space.
Yeah, it will add white space. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, it will take that space out. So you will see white space, and then your content, something over here. Okay? Again. I'll come back to this part one more time. Okay, everybody clear on the rules?
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
So
of
is
course.
there like a specific number that we can put to get us to the column that we want to affect only? Or is there
No, there's no identifier for each column. I'll show you how it works. But there's no like a particular, I want to go to column number 3. No. Column, if you put the number 3, it means that you are taking 3 column space. And I'll show you what it means. Okay. All right, but these rules are good. Rows, make sure you have 12 columns, rows, and then each of these are implemented using a div tag. What does this mean? Each of these are implemented using div tag. So this means this. Okay. If I want to implement a container, it says start with a div tag. Container is also a CSS class. So what do I have to do? Class container. Right? See what I did over here? If I want to create a container first, what do? It says the rule says you have to implement using a div tag. Question could be, can I use a section and can I use those? You can give it a try and see. I have not tried it. But from the documentation and the code I'm going to be showing, Bootstrap just uses div tags, right? And the reason is, what I can see is those are kind of semantic tags, right? At this point, I don't have a to me, a container is my whole website. What am I going to call, what semantic tag I can use, right? It's kind of more general. So that's why they kind of keep these things in div tags, right? Within these div tags, yes, you can use your section, blah, 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 everything. But when you are declaring your containers, rows and columns, stick to the div tags, right? Makes it easier, one less thing to think about that, oh, is it going to be a section? Is it going to be a header? I'm just declaring a container. That's all I want. Just stick to div tag and, get it. Because we have a lot more stuff that is coming inside that I need to take care of. Yes.
Even all the divs are still nested inside of the body, correct?
Oh, yeah. All the basic HTML rules apply. Okay, good question. I'm going to clarify, this is all basic HTML. Again, Bootstrap Grid is all CSS classes. It has nothing to do with HTML or anything. Same rules, body tag, you're going to create an HTML page, everything goes inside body, right? I'm only changing the classes. Yes, Reggie.
Well, is it a reason why you made the classes there's only one container? Or there's only one?
No. So the reason they made it into CSS class is because that's the only option available, right? You cannot create a new HTML element, right? HTML is a programming language that is defined. You cannot add a new HTML element and expect the browser to render. I can create a HTML element container, but does it exist in HTML? It does not.
So you're asking why can't you use an ID?
Oh, the ID? Is that what the question was?
Yeah.
So why cannot not use ID? So so when I'm defining my classes,
would you have more than one container?
You can have more than one container. Yes.
Because the CSS is already written.
Yeah, CSS is already written, and this is how they wrote it.
Yeah.
But if your rules apply here, you can use the classes that they
Yeah. Oh yeah, these are all predefined classes. It's not something that I'm going to write, right? This is already in Bootstrap, and they have created a class container. I'm just using it. Right? Okay. And I'm going to come about the multiple containers.
So the rows and columns, are those tags just the standard table tags, or do they have
No, no tags. No tags at all. Everything is a CSS class. I'm going to show you. Right now I'm at containers. I'm going to show you the columns.
Class name,
Yes. Rows.
They're called row and column?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to get to that, but a good question. Keep that in mind. Yeah. First, everybody clear on container? These are not HTML tags. These are all CSS classes. Yes, Joffrey.
So yeah, it would just be you have your body tag and your body tag.
Yeah.
Class container.
Right. Yeah, I'll show you the example in a bit. All right. So container, and then after the container, I want to create my rows. So div class row. That's it. Okay. So row is also a CSS class. There are no HTML tags ever that we are going to look into Bootstrap. We are all looking into CSS classes. Why? Because you remember we are linking .css class. That's all we have. Bootstrap is providing us a CSS, right? Nothing to do with HTML. Yes, George.
Because the row is inside the container, so that's the reason why
Yes.
those breakpoints at the bottom.
Yes. Yep. Container, your rows and columns are going to exist inside your container. Again, looking back at the diagram, you guys remember? I have a container, and then within the container, I have rows and columns. All right. How do I do that in HTML? I create these sections inside. I kind of make that a parent, and these are all children. All right. That's how I do it in HTML, right? So that's what I'm doing. This div tag is inside. This div tag is inside the div tag. Okay. Rows is easy. So you create a row, and that's it. Within the rows, we have columns. So the classes would be div, class, column. I haven't completed this because this is not the end of the syntax. How many columns can I have? 12. So I have to mention the number of columns I'm going to use. Okay? These dashes, these stars, we are going to fill in. Okay? But this is how the syntax would be. I'm going to fill these things in a bit. All right? So call dash something dash something. All right? The last one is the number of columns. If I say 3, this means within this row, I'm going to use 3 columns. Okay? We'll come back to the middle one. You can, right now at this point, I can totally skip this also, but this is also important. So my thing becomes 3. Let me complete this and then I'm going to ask. Okay? What is happening over here? I have, how many columns do I have? 9. Well, I mean, if I look at it, I have divided into, when I'm doing wireframing, 2 columns, all right? When I say 3, I'm saying, now I'm talking Bootstrap. I'm saying Bootstrap, you have 1 to 12 columns available for me. The first 3, I'm using this way, and the rest 9, I'm using this way. Remember going back in the wireframe, I had an image, so maybe my image is small. I want to put my image, but I want that image to only take up 3 columns. So the first 3 columns go into my image. The rest remaining 9 columns go into my whatever text that is.
How do you define how big the row is?
You don't have to worry about defining. I'll come back to that. All right. Why? Okay. Let me answer that. Why you don't have to worry about how your big row is and everything. Why? Because what is row over here? Like from the coding perspective, if you see class row, what it is? It's a CSS, right? Class row, right? So behind the CSS, what do? You define your width and everything, right? So Bootstrap has already done everything for us. We don't have to worry about width and everything. All right? Don't mess with the width. Don't mess. You can change it, yes, but at this point, for now, just take what Bootstrap is given. Whatever width is, we'll see what it is. But right now, don't worry about the width and the column. It is going to expand. Your container is going to take care of it. I'll show you the code, what happens. Okay? Yes?
So the 12 is even on the little size as well as the big laptop, even on the mobile phone?
Good question. Keep that question.
Okay.
Just next slide.
Okay.
Guys are like going ahead. I want to see this. All right? Okay, looks like it's time to move on. Everybody good with this one? All right, so 3. Now if I want, I can do this 6. What's going to be my second one? 6. So what did I just say? I said I have divided my screen 50%. 6 and 6. Now remember, I'm kind of shifting towards percentages. I'm taking you guys. So this is my screen. I have divided my column into this half-half. So this is 50%. Okay, my screen is divided into 50%. Okay, now just give me a minute. Keeping that in mind, if I do, let's say 3, 3, 3, and 3. Percentage of what am I saying? 25%. right? Every column is going to take up space of 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. Yes, that was a question. Okay, see, I'm getting there. Okay. Again, Bootstrap, the good part of Bootstrap, you guys are using percentages instead of pixel. That's the good part of Bootstrap. It takes the pixel part from you and it kind of considers percentages. All right. When you define 4 columns with 3, 3, 3, Bootstrap is going to divide your content into 25, 25, 25%. Yeah. Yeah. They have done the hard work. Yes, George. I'll come to you. For this one, yeah. For this one, how would my code look like? It would be call 3 in one div, then a second div, then a fourth div, then a fifth div. Yes.
And if you want 12 columns, you just copy and paste it 12 times.
So these will add up to 12.
Or I mean, if you want 12 divs, you just gotta.
Yeah, but those would be in a different row. This row, if I do 3, 3, 3, this row is done, complete. Each row can have 12 columns, right?
Yeah.
Right? So if I do 3, 3, 3, this row is done. Then you'll have to create a new row and then copy the same.
Honestly, if you want like 12 columns in one row, you gotta copy that code 12 times.
Yeah. Well, no. You don't have to copy 12 times. No. No. You don't have to copy it 12 times. If you want 12.
This is just the way.
Only if you have 12 elements.
Oh, I see. You want like 12 columns? Yeah. Then you would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. 12 columns. Every column div, every row div, every container div. Shouldn't say every container. Yes.
So a quick question. So say you want white space on the two ends.
Yeah.
Like
good question.
Trees, how would you have that written in your row?
Okay. Let's take a look. So this is what it is. Now I want, let's suppose I divide into 25. I want this to be empty. All right. So first, if I want content in this one, if I say quality, what do I have to do to get content? It's this is going back with basic HTML. All right. What can I do? I can put a image tag, right? And it will have content over here. I can put a header, h1, blah blah, everything. Okay. There's content. What did I say about spaces? 3 and empty divs. That's it. So it's going to keep it empty. It's going to take up space of 3 columns, and then it's going to.
So you would still write it the exact same way.
Yeah, it has to be written. It has to add up to 12. Yes, okay. There's no other way. Okay. If you skip this, what's going to happen is Bootstrap is going to start from here, and it will think this is your first 3 columns. So it's going to shift your content. Okay. So even if you're not using, you still have to put that as an empty. Okay. Good question, Matt.
Does it have to be a whole number after the dash?
Yes, it has to be a whole number from 1 to 12, right? Don't try decimal. All try it and see what happens. But it has to be a whole number.
You have to call the ones after.
Give me a minute. Yes.
So basically, you have to work it. So decide what you want your policy to work it out, and then you go in the next one, work it out, what you want in the
Yes. And when do you work it out? When you're drawing the wireframe, it should already be sorted out how many columns and how many rows are. But if you get to this point and you are still doing it, I would say stop here, go back to your wireframe, kind of figure out, because this is more technical. It'll be easier to do it in the wireframe than come here. Yes.
Okay. So the column tag, it says call 3. That 3 is referring to how many columns it fills, not to the third column. Right?
No.
Okay.
How many columns it is using. So 3 means firstly, after these 3 is going to consider the next 3, the next 3, the next 3. Yeah. As somebody was asking about the identifier, there's no identifier. I cannot jump to the 5th column and say this is the 5th one. Column dash 5 would mean span 5 means take up 5.
And then the order depends
on the where, yeah. Top to bottom. Kellen? Oh, did you have a question, Kellen? Do you have a question?
No, I was going to ask, like, knowing the percentage that's important to know the percentage of your divide.
Okay.
To know the percentages.
From the concept wise, you don't have to worry about in the code. No, you are never going to use a percentage, but from the concept wise, you can see that this is I was saying we are using pixel to define the width. So Bootstrap behind the scenes is giving you percentages, right? That's what. There is a, so the question is there a reason? I don't know, that's the magic number that they came up with. To be honest, I'm not sure why it is 12, but this is how it is.
I like it. She is an answer.
I think because it's the most divisible, like by whole
Right.
numbers. So
Yeah.
like you can divide it in half,
Right.
whole number, you divide it in thirds, quarters.
Exactly. Yeah, that was going to be my other question. If you have to guess, and you guys are guessing it right. They came up with this number because it's not like too much and it's not too little. It gives you space. Right, right. It gives you enough wiggle room, and percentages are easier. 25%, 33, 66. If you have like 3 and 9.
Any more than that, there's not too much content.
Right. Yes.
You covered column dash star dash star.
No, we'll come.
Yeah.
Matt, you had a question? You good? All right, everybody good? Yes, 4.
So if you really did.
All right, guys, give me a minute. Listen to the questions. They kind of, they'll be helpful. Yes, 4.
If you really did want to hit, just say column 5, would you have to first do div class column 4 and leave it blank?
Yeah.
And then div class 1.
Yep. Yep.
Then you have to code out 6.
Yeah, you have to always code out 12. It has to add up to 12 columns. Again, don't think as an identifier. Don't think that if I want to go to column 5, think about the spaces. Like, okay, if I want to go into this, I want my content on this part, right? How many columns do I have to get there? 6. I can do 3, 3, 3, 3, so 6. So just say 6 I'm going to ignore, the rest I'm going to get there.
The first 6 would be like a pillar.
Yeah, empty. Yeah, depends, yeah. What do you want? Yes.
You put an image in a column of a certain size, does it resize to that? So if you say column 3, you put that image in there, will that image resize?
Yeah. We'll see how it will. But that's the beauty of it. It will resize everything that is inside. It's going to keep it inside. If you guys were having issues that the content is going out, Bootstrap takes care of it. It's going to remain inside. Yeah. Yes, Joe. Yes. Oh no, column 1. Column 1. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Again, if you think about the identifier part, that's going to get confusing because if you want to get to column 5, you're going to say, oh, do I have to do column 5 or not something? No, it has to add up. So 3 and then 3 means these are the next 3 columns. All right. Don't think in the sense of identifiers. Think of that this number has to add up to 12. Okay. All right. Good question. Yes.
Then with row, you just are saying row 1.
No, row is, yeah, just row. And why is it just row? Because it's always going to be one row. So that's why it's redundant to put any. So if you want a second row, what would you do?
Yeah.
You would just create a div class row. Next one. Remember the containers? Now your row is one grid. You would work on it and done. Next you want the next row. Next row.
But
Yes.
we would still be classifying like the height, the width, and all of that.
No, you don't have to worry about the height and the width. Again, these are CSS classes. Height, width, and everything I'm going to show in the next slide, they are taking care of these. There's a defined height, there's a width, but Bootstrap has written all those stuff behind the CSS. Right? It's good to know what the height and width is, but I don't see if you're using Bootstrap, you shouldn't be modifying the height and width. You should be more concentrated on columns. If you don't want this content in this column, you create an empty div, ignore that, move on. So think of it as in columns.
But we'll be able to know what size roller it is.
Not from this. Well, you can look at the code behind it and see what size it is. But the row, again, I'll show you. But from the code perspective that I write code, you will not have access to width and height. Bootstrap is kind of taking care of it. They are giving you assurance that if you use a container, this will be a container. If you use a row, it's going to be this. Okay. If you want a smaller row, what do I have to do? Let's suppose if I start this row and this is my browser and my row would be, this is my row. Okay. I want a shorter row. I don't want, I want this. Exactly. And that's how you do it.
No, I'm talking about the row's height.
how do we?
Oh, height is responsive. It depends on what the content is going to go big and small. Yeah. Yeah, they will take care of it. But that's a good, yeah. If you want a smaller row, you would create columns and ignore those.
So if you did just want to change the row specifically, you would just set like an ID for it, basically. So you want to change like every row.
This one, in this case, what's the use case? Right. So if there's a content inside this row, it's going to stretch and it's going to contract everything. What was it? Is that what was your question?
Yeah.
Okay. You got it? I can say okay. Ask again. Let's try it differently.
I kind of understand what she was saying to me.
Because the default, he's missing the default from the Bootstrap link that you posted. The default has like the height and width. Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Everything has a height and width. You cannot do CSS without height and width. But the height and width is gonna taking care of for this. You remember you write CSS, you are putting heights and widths. It's the exact same thing, but the only thing over here, Bootstrap behind the scene have written some height and width for it.
No, I mean I understand the idea that
okay.
There's a column.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like when I look at this, some of the rows are like this, some of the rows are like this.
Why are they like this? They're because of the content inside it. If the content is bigger, the row will go bigger.
So it
the content is.
Your content.
So how do we? What I'm saying is how do we set our content?
Oh, okay. Again, you don't have to worry about heights and width of the content. What you have to do is you will create a column, and then you will put your HTML image tag, H1s, and blah blah blah. And this, as long as these are inside this one, it will take care of it. Okay. All right. We'll see an example real quick. Okay. All right. Questions? Anything else? Awesome. Good questions. All right. Now we are getting to the more trickier part. All right. Last chance. Any other questions from the previous one? But this is now getting into screen sizes and all that stuff. All right. The second, I want to use the word parameter because we haven't talked about it. Second placeholder. Let's start with this. So what did I say? I had call dash start dash start. We covered this one, right? This is number of columns. Okay. The middle one is, look at the screen. Middle one defines how your column is going to be rendered on what screen size. Okay, stay with me. So how many screen sizes there are? You see, the middle one has a couple of options. SM, MD, is it MD? Yeah. LG and XL. These are the only available options. All right. I'll come back to the first one later on. Small SM means all the devices whose length is 576 pixels, the width and more. Okay, and these are usually your phones when you turn them into landscape mode. All right, when you turn your phone into landscape mode, the width has been determined that it's going to be 576 or more. Okay. The second one, MD, means your tablets. Tablets have a width of 768 pixel and more. Okay, again, we are talking about width. You guys understand the width and the pixel now, right? We did the CSS, you're defining a width. That's what it is. Large, LG, is for devices like laptops who have a width of 992 pixel and more. All right. Similarly, the last one is for big monitors and devices that have a length of width of 1200 pixel and more. Okay. Again, this is more for the concept, so you guys know what is going on. What are these tags mean? Okay. And if you don't put anything, it is considered small, your phone's in portrait mode, which is less than 576 pixels. Again, do I have to know these pixels? It's good to know. Will I use it? No, Bootstrap behind the scenes is using it as long as you use the right codes. As long as you use the right code, small, medium, large, Excel, Bootstrap will understand what you're trying to do. But from the concept wise, I like to explain this so that people actually know. I like to know what it actually means, what is going on. So this is why I put it over here. This will be on your slide. So this is a good to know the first one. Okay, we'll come back to this and we'll see what it means. Okay, any questions on that? We're good? It's just more for a knowledge perspective. But the more important is you have these options available. Okay? Yes?
So do you put multiple versions of that as the class that you're trying to address everything?
Exactly, yep. The question is, do I put multiple versions of that? What it means is, what Matt is saying, now I already have a container defined somewhere. Okay, I have a container tags, I have a row tags, I'm going to come to the column tag. I can totally have small 3 column medium 9. Okay. Matt was asking, can I have multiple? Yes, you can have multiple. What does this mean? It's saying that on a small device, take up 3 columns. If the device is medium, take up 9 columns. That's what it translates to. Okay? You see what is going on? Responsive. If my website is rendered on a small device, you are going to take my content and you're going to divide whatever the content is over here is going to take up only 3 columns. If my device gets rendered on a medium device, they expand this to 9 columns.
So what does it do with the extra content in the stack?
Yeah, welcome to that. Yes. Yes.
Is there a common ratio when you're building a site with content? Are there common ratios for knowing small versus medium versus large on how content scales?
No, there's not like a defined. Again, and the reason is because nobody knows how your website is going to look like, right? Sure. You might have more content over here. To you, this would make sense. To me, my website, maybe I don't have that much. It wouldn't make sense. So again, go back to wireframes, and you have to start small. Start for how your website is going to look from your mobile phone. Sure. Okay, then go to your bigger tablets. Then go to your desktop. Okay, you got your answer? Stack one, right? Oh, you were asking the stack part?
Yeah, I was just. I just figured. Okay,
yeah.
So if,
yes.
If it's going to be 6 across or whatever,
yes,
then it will auto scale.
It will auto scale. Yeah, I'll show you in the code. Hold on, Jeff. There was a question over. Yeah, Jeff. No, it's a space. It's just a CSS class. Yeah, so I'm having multiple CSS classes. Remember, in Bootstrap, we can have multiple CSS classes. That's what it is.
There's actually just a space in between.
Yeah, there's a step. These are 2 different CSS classes.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you do it? Space. No, just space. CSS class.
Okay.
J? Yes. J?
Is it? I think I remember reading that auto scales up. So if you put like small, it'll auto scale up to medium.
Yeah. So if I so here's the question. The question is, if I just have a small, what is going to happen? Now look at try to understand this index. So I'm saying that for all the devices greater than 576 pixels, which includes medium, large, extra large. So if I just have this, everything after kind of applies. It's going to apply for this also, this also, this also, this. Unless I explicitly say, oh no, do it for a medium, do 9. Then it's going to stop at this point, and then medium, large, extra large, then it will change. Yes. Yes. Yes, Christine.
If you make it full small and you have it on a large screen, is it just going to be smaller on the large screen?
No, it will never reach that point. On the large screen, Bootstrap knows what the width of your device is. So if it's on a large screen, it's going to ignore the small tag. Because this tag is only valid for devices greater than this. So anything small than that gets ignored. Because you are not taking care of that. You are saying, I don't care about that part right now. Yes.
So let's say your medium is 3, and let's say large is 9. So if it reads on a small platform, it would be the 3, right? Because it's what's medium and small, right?
So keep that going. I'm going to tell what happens. Okay, so here's the question. The question is, if I don't put small, I say medium, 3, and large. I'm not specifying anything for anything less than. What is going to happen? So what is going to happen is, on my screen, this is 3 columns and 9 columns. Okay. So on my medium, this content is going to 3 columns, and when it goes to large one, this is going to expand and going to take up 9 spaces. Okay, these are horizontal. It's going to keep your content horizontal. Okay, anything I have not defined small. What is going to happen when it gets to that breakpoint? It will automatically stack up your content.
Is it the same content on
Same content.
versus 9?
Yes, it's the same content, but when you stack it, what's going to happen is going to take the whole width. It will ignore your column definition and everything, because you are saying that I care about the columns after this, after this. Anything that you ignore, it will consider it being stacked up with 100% width. Right? And that's how we want in the mobile phones, right? You want it nicely stacked up, taking the whole screen. And that's what, if you don't put any breakpoint, so this breakpoint is valid for medium, large, extra large, if I don't have a large. It's not valid for small and extra small. So for small devices, it's going to ignore the horizontal, it's going to start stacking up. Okay? What is the question for? Who asked me this question? I totally forgot.
I have a question.
No, who was after George? Was it? I don't know. Okay, yeah, Geoffrey, go ahead.
So I mean, it makes sense, I guess.
Okay.
To just define it for bigger, because smaller you always want it to stack up. So you really
Exactly.
designing for.
Yeah. No, there's a use case for that. What about your tablets? Maybe you want it stacked up on your tablets also, right? You want them stacked up on tablets. So again, it depends on your wireframe, depends on what your content is, depends on what you're trying to do. Okay.
Just don't want to squish so small that you can't.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the bootstrap is taking care of all that. You don't have to figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah. But what you have to figure out is the number of columns,
Yeah.
and you have to figure out. So it's not as simple as it looks like. You still have to study and understand what you're trying to do, right? You can miss and you can say, oh, I want a small or a large or this and that. It can like mess up the whole thing. All right. All right. Let's look at the code now. All right. I know these questions. I hope these concepts are kind of clear, but it will be helpful when you look at the coding part. It will be more visual, and you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay. So let's start with, what do I have here? Okay, let me show you the container first. All right. Okay, this is. Oh, not here. Bootstrap container. Okay. Index.html. No, not K. HTML. Okay, close this.
I know that HTML files, you can still use them. Is there like a disadvantage to using HTML?
That's a good question. I'm actually not entirely sure. What's the? Is it like a? I thought it was like a Word format, but yeah, for like HTML4 or 3. Yeah, it still renders, but that's kind of more like an older version. I think with HTML5, that's what we're studying, so it is. And eventually, HTML5 would be the king of browsers. Slowly, they're kind of taking away those websites that are on the older versions. I know Google is telling, somebody from the previous class was telling they have a company website that's on HTML, I don't know, 3 or 2, and they have received emails from Google saying that, we're going to put your site on like page 2, which is, nobody goes to page 2, so either upgrade it to HTML5 or do something about it.
That's crazy that Google says that. Like Google is God.
When Google says it, everything is valid. All right, that's the gold standard. You do it, it's not fine. As soon as Google does it, everything is fine. All right, let's get back here. Okay, so I have my bootstrap. I have my link over here. Okay, guys, this is important. Let's see this. How do we translate our concept into the code part? Okay, so the first part I was saying is creating a container. Okay, create a class container, and then my container can have some content. Let's go ahead and put like a h1. This is container with container 1. I'm going to put a p-tag here. This part is inside the container. Okay, and then this is a fixed width. This is not a fixed width. Responsive. This is a responsive fixed width container. Okay. What was the? Let me put a. Okay, what I did over here, container, that's the more important part. Big success, I want you guys to see the color, that's why I put it over there. Big success, I think it's like a green color, so it's going to colorize this part. Open with, that's over. All right, so this is what the container is, yes. Bootstrap documentation. Please go and read it. Yeah. No, definitely. No, the serious answer is document. Please get into the habit of reading the Bootstrap documentation. Any tool that we use, please go and look at the documentation. In the Bootstrap, look at the grid system, and they have the classes defined over here. Or W3 schools, both have good documentation explanation. All right. I'm not doing anything special. I'm actually just taking the code and showing it to you guys. All right, to be honest. Okay. All right, guys. Look at this one. So this is how you define a container, and take a look at this. You see there's like white spaces at the end. All right, this is the default behavior of Bootstrap, and you can look into the CSS if you want to change it, but I would say don't worry about changing it. Why is it giving this? You remember the Facebook page you saw? That's the trend. That's kind of UX design, that you leave spaces at the end, and then you kind of put your content in the middle. Okay, but if you don't want that, they give you another option called container fluid from the documentation. So you need to take up the whole width. Right? You are like, no, I want the whole width. And see what is going to happen as you collapse, and it's fluid. It's changing the whole content accordingly, like the whole grid is. Versus if I take this out, it only breaks. When does it change? You guys see what is happening? It changes at a certain point. We call those breakpoints. What this means is, if I go into inspect, you see this cool pixel that are going to come up here. Okay, take a look at this. Oops. What's the width? 169. Going down, going down, going down, and it changes at certain points. Right? Remember our grid thing? At certain breakpoints, it goes and changes as well. Default behavior of Bootstraps. Thanks to Bootstrap, you don't have to worry about changing anything. Okay?
They don't have header tags.
Again. It has nothing to do with HTML tags. Everything is CSS.
So you can put a header tag in there.
Yeah. That's your HTML, but we are not talking about it. I do have a. That's what I was saying. Yeah, anything you can put a header tag or your semantic tags, anything inside, right? But that's the point over here, is that this is important. Yeah, this is, you can put h1, you can put p images, you can put anything. Right, this is your content. You're not worrying about the content right now. Okay?
Well, I mean, because I thought there was something, instead of using div tag,
Yeah.
you could use like the header tag.
Right. And where would the header tag go?
Like, yeah, well, in there inside the container.
Yep, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. You can use anything. The only part was using this. Here's the quick thing, and please don't do this. Just to show you guys. Question was previously, I think Bree asked, and Reggie was also asking, can I have 2 containers in my page? You can, but don't have 2 containers. Why not? So you see, from the code perspective, you are allowed. You can do whatever you want. But you see, when I'm looking, you guys will give a heart attack to UX people if they see you have 2 containers. Why would I have a container which is this and then I have this? Right? You can have it, and the reason I'm showing it so you can compare the fluid and the regular container, how it changes, but you don't have to. If you have a use case where you need 2 containers, please come and see me and we can discuss, and I'm going to wireframe it out with you. I'm curious to see why do you need 2 containers. That's the only reason. Okay, so usually we define 1 container and then rows and columns. Okay, so these are the 2 containers available, fluid and the regular one. Fluid takes up the whole width, and the non-fluid one takes up a defined width, and it changes based on the breakpoints. All right, what do I mean by breakpoints? You guys understand? Breakpoints is the screen sizes that we saw. Okay, excellent. All right, let's go ahead and march on to our div classes now. Do I want to change this one or do I do something? Okay, let's stick with this one. I'm going to just keep modifying this example. Okay. So I have a container. Let's remove this. Okay. After the container, what was the second part? I need to have rows. All right. So let's go ahead and give class row. Okay. Everybody good? I started with a row. There's no number with a row. Everything is cool because row is just 1. Right. Now the next part is I want to define my columns. So let's go ahead and define our columns. Div class column. Let's start with small 3. Okay, and then I'm going to put class call small 9. Okay, I'm going to use the Bacon Ipsum generator and get some text here so that you guys can see what's going on. I told you, just Google Bacon. I'm just fast like.
I didn't see you grab it.
And then you. Oh, I have this opened in a different window. That's why I'm just copy pasting from there. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is going to get even faster when we are on the next lesson when I'm not worried about HTML. Okay, all right, guys. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to remove this here. I'm going to put this over here so that these are BG success. Oh, no. No. Yeah, now I need to go and change the colors. All right, so let's see what happened. I have 2 div tags. I have a container. I have 1 row and 2 columns. I said SM means small 3 columns for small devices and up. Remember 576. So everything that is bigger than the small, your what was it? Landscape phones size is going to divide this screen into 3 and 9. Okay, simple. Let's see. Let me open this inspect so you guys can see this breakpoints over here. Okay, when you no, I don't want this. Okay. So now my width is changing. It's going down. Keep going. No, still, but I still have how many rows? Oh, how many columns? I still have 3 and it hasn't stacked up yet. It's just expanding based on this because I have this too big. You can reduce it and it will go down. But still 3 and 9 because I haven't hit the breakpoint that I have mentioned, which is SM. Get to 576. See what happened? Stacks up. By default behavior is it's going to stack up. See that? Okay. Yeah.
So quick question, would it be better to view your screen, have your screen split to be able to view it in
different sections?
Like
yeah.
And small and large, so you know how it's going to
No, but isn't it easier to write all your code at one place and then just change the CSS? You are repeating a lot of stuff, right? You don't want everything. As I say, be a lazy programmer. I can put everything over here and just keep changing these literally 2 classes, and it will. I don't have to worry about it. If you want, yes, you can do it, but there will be a lot of code, a lot of repetition, and if you change one thing somewhere, you have to find everything. Okay? Yes.
Which one do you use out of all of them? It's like there's one that you kind of decide to settle on and use, and then it adjusts.
What are we talking? What is?
You're saying this 3.9.
Oh yeah.
It's based on which? Is it based on the phone or the landscape phone, or is it based on?
Okay. 3 and 9 is the numbers are not based on anything. The numbers. What did I say? The columns have to be 12. Yeah. So in my row, I need to have 12 columns. So 3 and 9. Perfect. Small, I'm just showing you an example that what will happen when it reaches the small screen. I'll show you the medium one, right? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah, it's outside the container. Good question. Yeah, we'll see a navigation bar. Yes.
what happens if you use the variable one small, would it still stack?
So yeah, it's going to go with the default, which is extra small. So let's say you are saying like this, something different.
Yeah, because it's stacked them, like,
at one breakpoint kind of goes crazy. That's all it does. Yeah, this is the one that's going to break. See what happened? It stacked up. It did because I missed it. Yeah, but it kind of got confused and kind of rendering it.
So it would be better all of them.
Oh yeah.
The same size.
Yes. It would be what would be better is that if you are defining, you complete. If you are using one breakpoint, complete it. So if I have a small 3, make sure you have a small 9 somewhere. Complete that. And then go on to the next one. Alright, let's see. Let's look at this one now. If I do column medium 6. Alright. So for the medium part, how am I missing? I'm missing 6 more, right? So I need to complete MD6. Alright. So small, I have 3 and 9. For medium screens, I have 6 and 6. What does it mean? Divided into 50-50. All right, let's see what happened. Ooh, did I click something? So for big screens, for medium and above, I said divide into 6 and 6 columns. Right, you can do that too. So 50-50%, and as it goes below, 3 and 9. All right. When I go to the small screen, I want these to be 3 columns, these to be 9 columns. All right. Keep going down, and extra small is going to stack up. Right?
That's the default.
That's the default behavior. If you don't specify anything, it's always going to start stacking up. Yeah. Your browser, yeah. It doesn't need to know. For us, it is that what device we are. That was more like a human readable thing. Yes, Evan. Yes. Right. And why do we have to? What did I say? The column should add up. So this is one set of columns. So you have to make it 9. You have to make sure that these are complete. Yes. Yep. Yes, Kristen.
If you have medium set at 6.6 and you want to continue that on for large and extra large, you don't actually need to write up
No.
large and
So
extra
everything goes above. Everything. This is valid for small and everything above, unless you specify something. So if I specify medium, now I'm going to stop at small. It's going to stop at small. Medium is valid for medium, large, and extra large. So it's going to continue. If I put large over here, then it's going to be valid only for large devices. Okay, and I can keep doing this. I can add a large one saying column large 5. Oops. And the remaining are 7. So I have to put a 7 here then. What is it? Yeah, you just put a blank one over here on the top and reduce these numbers and put a blank. It's going to add more space. But again, if you need more space, you can see that this fixed with container, it's already kind of adding spaces. Kind of already comes built in. If you add more space, it's going to kind of shrink. But again, maybe it's valid for use case. But I would start and visualize further. I already have like so much space with the container, so I don't know if I want to add more space. But yes, there's an option. You can put an image and you can. This is the default behavior. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it already has the white space, but if you want more, I don't know why, but if you want more, yeah, you can put it in there. All right, let's look at this one really quick. Again, you saw the sizes. Now you understand the second, this row. What does it mean? Horizontal at all times. If you specify, yes, Joe. Empty there. And the column, yeah. You will say empty, small. We did 3 and 9, so you have to break it down. You have to do 3, 3, or 3. Whatever. It has to add up into 12. That's all. Is that what you want? Yeah. Then the remaining. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I just realized I wasn't specifying that. That's fine.
Okay.
I keep putting it on stuff.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Here's now. Can you understand this part? Collapse to start. Okay, and then horizontal. What does it mean? The screen, all your content is going to be horizontal. When it comes to the breaking point, it's going to stack up. That's all it means. Okay, if you specify these, and if you specify extra small, what are you saying? You are saying, do not stack up my contents. Let's remove all of these. No, that didn't work. What did I miss? Oh, there's no excess. Sorry, that's. Okay, so you see what I did? I put in, if you don't specify anything, all right, it will take the breakpoint of XS, which is extra small. Now the word excess that you saw I used it was used prior to Bootstrap 4. They have taken out that keyword. That's why I remembered. By default, they're saying if you don't specify anything, it's going to consider extra small screens. So looking at this table, what am I saying is, if I specify nothing, I'm saying that I don't care what screen size is, just keep it horizontal. Like both are, it will never stack up, right? There might be a use case you want that. If you want the stacking up stop, you don't want these to be on top of each other, all right? Stacking up, you will mention it. You will not mention anything. You will just specify a columns, and by default, it will take this option, which is extra small. Again, if you see a keyword Excels being used, this should tell you you are using an older version of Bootstrap before Bootstrap 4. Bootstrap 3 has it, but in the latest version that we are using, they don't have this anymore. Okay, I just remember from the previous, that's why I was using that. Okay, if you Google for this grid and everything, please make sure you are putting Bootstrap 4 at the end. If you just say Bootstrap grid or something, by default, I think shows up the Bootstrap 3. So this table is going to look a little bit different because they have an excess over here. So these will be a little bit different. So I would suggest when you Google, look up Bootstrap 4. Okay. Again, this is not as important, but if you are curious, they have defined the width that they're using behind the scenes. This is the width of each container. Again, we don't have to worry about it. You saw we don't really care. It's already taking care of us. But for people who are curious, they were asking about the widths. They have mentioned what widths they are using, how they are collapsing and doing it. Okay. Again, just some extra stuff. This is on the presentation. It will be there, so you guys can take a look at this table. So we did this. Okay. All right, we have 5 minutes, so we'll take our lunch at noon. Any questions before when you come back? Let me complete this and then you can ask. When you come back, this would be the goal. Look at the documentation and we'll have to see if we can come up with this. Again, before, what is happening? How many rows do I have? I have one header. Again, this is not a navigation. It seems like a section, so I can consider this as a row. Second row, third, fourth row, right? Then come back to our grids. This was the first row. This is just one column. If I just want one column, what would I do? What number should I use? 12. Excellent. Yeah, because I want to take up the whole space. Then I have 1, 2, 3 columns. Up to you. You can do 3, 3, 4 divided like 4, 4, 4. That will also work. Again, this is one row. You can divide into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the idea. Okay. This is the exercise after lunch. We'll start back at 12:45, and then we're going to start on this exercise.
Okay. Quick question for you.
Okay.
So, like, I was doing this in GitLab. Like, I was trying to copy. Wait, I'll show you here. Okay, so. Oh, wait. So, all I wanted to do was copy. So I was trying to copy this basic portfolio into my homework folder. So I did CP, copy, R. I thought that's like the whole basic portfolio and the homework. But it didn't copy the folder. It copied like all the contents. I don't know. It just seemed like now in this I have homework instead. So it copied it into where I was instead of like moving it. See, I was in VP this folder, so it copied homework. It put this folder into that, and then it put it into there.
So that's why I say you need to go one step up. When you do this, it is going to look for this folder inside here, and then it's going to look for this folder inside this
Oh.
Right? You don't already, so that's why you have to go one back up where both of these exist on the same level.
Oh, okay.
And then you do a column.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Can't be it. Okay.
Or right click copy and
I
so
was
good
gonna
practice.
do, but
That's a good practice. But yeah, remember, so both of those have to be at the same level.
Yeah, otherwise it's gonna do that.
Yeah.
Put it in there. It's like did a magic trick, but I get what you're saying.
Right.
They didn't have those. I don't know if they've added that since then.
I can look at that and be like, oh, okay. That's a good idea. Yes. But I'm trying not to do that.
You're a little more subtle.
I think I originally had it in my CSS and then originally had it like,